Today we're going to be working on solving radicals, so very different than graphing and the simplifying that we did the other day. You will need the skill of going from radical form to exponential form, and that is something we spent quite some time on. So we're going to focus on the first side of the examples of the worksheet, and we're going to be doing A, C, and E today. So letter A, the first thing that we need to do is isolate the radical as much as possible. So if I need the radical to stand alone, that means I need to get rid of that 3. And to move the 3 to the other side, we subtract. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And I'm left with 2x minus 3 equals 5. And in the beginning of the year when we solved quadratic problems, if I said x squared equals 10, to get rid of the squared, you would take the square root of something. So here we're kind of going the opposite. If I want the square root to cancel, I'm going to square both sides. Again, remember, it's implied that there's a 2 there, so this whole idea of squaring something is going to cancel out with that 2. So on the left-hand side, I'm left with 2x minus 3. On the right-hand side, 5 squared is 25. And now we have to get x by itself. So I'd add 3 to both sides. 2x equals 28, divide by 2, so x equals 14. Okay, so quick check, if I plugged it back in, 2 times 14 is 28, 28 minus 3 is 25, the square root of 25 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. So for these problems you will always know if you are correct or not. You can plug them back in and check. So letter C is a little bit more involved. Notice it's not in radical form, it's in exponential form. Same idea though, I need to get rid of those numbers on the outside, so I need to handle a 3. And to get rid of the 3, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So x plus 1 raised to the 2/3 power equals 4. And if I want this 2/3 to cancel, we are going to raise both sides to the reciprocal of 2/3. So the reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3/2. So by doing that, the 2's are going to cancel and the 3's are going to cancel. Or the other way you could think about it is if I multiply, I would get 6 over 6, which is 1. So either way you think about it, these exponents are going to cancel, and I'm left with x plus 1. And we have 4 raised to the 3/2. And we're going to put this back in radical form so that we can actually evaluate this. So if I put it back in radical form, that's the same thing as saying the square root of 4 raised to the 3rd power. And remember, we talked about the different ways to evaluate. I could have raised 4 to the 3rd power and then take the square root of it, or I could take the square root of 4 and then cube my answer. So if I did the square root of 4, the square root of 4 is a plus or minus 2. But then I still have to raise this to the 3rd power. So the square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. Need to raise that to the 3rd power. So a positive 2 raised to the 3rd power is a positive 8. And a negative 2 raised to the 3rd power is a negative 8. So negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is the negative 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is the positive 8. So notice we still get this plus or minus 8. And to get x by itself, I'm subtracting 1 from both sides. So if I do a positive 8 minus 1, I get the answer of 7. And if I do a negative 8 minus 1, I get negative 9. So for this problem, we get 2 answers that would work. So letter E is somewhat similar. We just have to do a little bit of scratch work ahead of time before we can raise it both sides to the reciprocal. So the first thing I need to do is subtract 1 from both sides. So I have 3 times the 5th root of x plus 1 cubed equals 24. And then we divide both sides by 3. So I have the 5th root of x plus 1 to the 3rd power equals 8. And in order to get rid of this, I want to be able to rewrite x plus 1 raised to a power. So x plus 1 is going to be raised to the 3/5 power. And if I want this to cancel out, I'm going to raise both sides to the reciprocal, so the 5/3 power. So on the left-hand side, the exponents are going to cancel, and I'm left with an x plus 1. On the right-hand side, we're going to rewrite this as the cube root of 8 to the 5th power. And the cube root of 8 is just a positive 2. Notice there's no plus or minus this time because I'm taking the cube root. So the cube root of 8 is 2, but I still have to raise that to the 5th power. 2 to the 5th power is 32. Subtract 1 from both sides, so x equals 31. So that is all for today. We'll pick up with the rest of the notes tomorrow.